Okay, so we took this test last week. Okay, so pay close attention here so that we get all the points right and everything there. Okay, these first couple are only going to be worth 1 point. I don't remember what the total is right now, but we'll get it at the end. Okay, here we have a shape. Now, this is multiple choice, so it made it a little bit easier. I have a feeling if I would have just asked you to tell me the base shape, there would have been a lot of people miss this. But how do we know what the base shape is in a prism? How would we know in a prism? Yeah. It's what's being stretched. So if there's something that's being stretched, and there's got to be two of that shape, right? There has to be two. So that's the first thing we want to identify. Whether it's a prism, we only did prisms or pyramids. So I mean, you can see how the answers. This is the only two things we really spoke about. If this is a prism, then on the summative it could be a pyramid. Just understand the difference. Okay. This is going to be a prism. Okay. And the reason why is because you can see there's a shape getting stretched from top to bottom. Do you guys all see that? Okay. So there's definitely stretching that's happening. Okay. So right away I know that I can get rid of both B and D because I know it's not a pyramid. Okay. And then finally, now you just got to figure out the base shape. So remember, the base shape, as William just said, is the shape that's being stretched. So we know in this case it is a triangle that's being stretched there. So that is a triangular prism. Triangular prism. Good? Okay. Next one, you have to identify each solid. So I think a lot of you probably were able to eliminate letter B, I would assume, right? It's clearly not a cylinder. So I don't think anybody chose B. So that's kind of a silly answer there. Then we're down to this. So we got rectangular prism, and a cube. Now, isn't a cube just a special type of rectangular prism? Huh? Absolutely. It's just where if I knew that all these dimensions were the same, that's a cube. It's still a rectangle or a square being stretched. Do you guys understand that? It's kind of like the fact that every square is a rectangle, but not every rectangle is a square. It goes back to that thing. Okay? So we know that it could be A, B, or C. So first of all, let's think about faces. The faces of this. How many sides? How many sides does a rectangular prism or a cube even have? 6. It has 6. So right away, I'm able to eliminate letter C. You guys see that? Okay, so that gets rid of that. Now we're going to go on. We know it's either one of these. So now we got to go to edges. Well, let's just count them. Well, edges are pretty easy to count because you know that the actual rectangle itself has 4, right? Right, guys? Which means that the one that's being stretched has 4. That's 8, correct? And then don't you have 4 connecting each vertex or vertice of that? So isn't that a total of 12 edges? Sure, it is. So that kind of eliminates letter D. But just to be clear, let's just go through now and let's just identify the vertices. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the back 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your 8 vertices. We know the answer is A. Okay? Okay. You guys all did well with this. So I'm going to go quick. Answer the following using surface area or volume. If you're filling, there's your key word. Whenever you see that word, what are we talking about? Volume. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be volume. That's an amount of something. You're filling something that's taking up space. Water is taking up space. Okay, answer the following. If you're wrapping a gift, okay, there's your key word, wrapping. Or what's a synonym, synonym of wrapping? Covering. That's always a word. You might want to write that. Cover. Anytime you're covering or you're wrapping something, you're putting something just on the surfaces. We're talking about surface area, right, guys? All right, number 5. Oh, here we go. How many, whenever you see that right there, what are we talking about? That's always going to be volume. That's what volume is. It's the amount of 1 by 1 by 1 cubes that will fit into something or that will fill something. Whereas 1 by 1 squares, what if I would have said 1 by 1 squares? Huh? It would be surface area. So just keep in mind, 1 by 1 by 1 cubes, we're talking about volume, taking up space. Okay? Alrighty. Let's go up. This one up here. Covering a textbook, there's your key word. There's surface area once again. So those are all worth 1 point, obviously. Now, number 7. It's going to be worth 7 points, so pay attention. A cereal company is considering 2 different packages of its new product. It has already determined that both packages would cost the same amount of money to manufacture. Okay, so the package costs the same. So now what they want to do is they want to figure out which one's going to hold more, because if the package itself costs the same, wouldn't you want to use the box that actually holds more cereal so you could sell it? Does that make sense? obviously, if they cost the same, right? So you know you're going to be finding volume because first of all it says it, but next thing is you're filling it with cereal. So you're going to have two parts here. You're going to have to, first of all, I'll do one section over here. I'll separate this. We'll call this A. We'll call this B. So then this will be A over here. This will be a B over here. This is going to be worth 6 points just here. So everybody watch. First thing you're going to do, you have to have the formula written just like that. Yes, it has to be a capital B. It has to be a capital B because just lowercase b, just a base, that's not the right thing. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and find the volume of this. Now, it doesn't really matter what you call the base in a rectangular prism, right? Because any side could be. I like to call the front. So I like to call this right here my base. So I'm going to find the area of that base. Now, some people think that's 12 times 5, but actually it's 12 times 18, right, guys? Right? So we got 12 times 18, and then the distance between the front and the back, since we're stretching it, or how far it's being stretched, that's going to be times 5. What does that give you when you 1,080. And then, of course, what do we need on there? Centimeters cubed. So here's 3 points right here, guys. Here's 3 points right here. Formula. You got your answer. You must have centimeters cubed. If you don't have all three of those, you got to have the points. Make sure you're counting correctly. Over here, we're going to do the same thing. Volume equals area of the base times the distance between the bases. So again, I'm going to call the front my base shape. So here we're calling this my base shape. So I'm going to do 14 times 8. So 14 times 8 there. And then times 6, because that's the distance between the bases. What does that give me?
672.
What is it, 672?
Yeah,
672. And of course, that's going to be centimeters cubed. So there's 3 more points. 1, 2, 3. And finally, you had to answer the question. What is the volume? Now, you could have, I know a lot of you probably just typed in your clicker. That's fine. But obviously, that is your answer. So I'm giving you 7 points on that. I'll count them again. Watch, guys. Formula. The answer for 1, centimeters cubed. Then that's 3 points. Then 4. There's your 4th point. There's your 5th point. There's your 6th point. And then your final point is actually saying, okay, it was 1,080. That was your answer. Everybody got that? Yeah.
You just wrote A.
It's fine. If you just simply said A or B, then this one, or some people even go up here and say this one, that's fine, because I know you guys put it in your clicker correctly, I think. So I'm good with that. But that's worth 7 points, so go ahead and put whatever you got out of 7 over there. Okay? Put what you got out of 7. Okay, number 8, it's worth 3 points because we're finding volume of that cereal box now. So we got area of the base times the distance between the bases. Doesn't really matter what you call the base shape. If you call the front, then that would be this. We've got to find the area of that front rectangle right there, which is going to be 8 by 11. Right, guys? And then the distance between, or how thick it is going to be 2. We're going to end up getting 176, right? And then, of course, inches cubed. If you're putting inches squared, make sure you're subtracting 1 from your points. Everybody got that? This page is going to be out of 16. 16. This page is out of 16 points. We got that? Okay. All right. Find the surface area of that same cereal box. So you know this is worth 3 also. But there is no formula. This is the one where we just simply say this is going to be the front, the back, the right side, the left side, the top, the bottom. I don't care what order you put those in. Don't care at all. That's up to you guys. I like to do the front. Now, one thing I do like to do is I like to take colors, and I like to just shade these so that I know what I'm talking about so I don't get confused. And if you do that, it'll help you to be able to say, okay, I can really see what all these lengths are. Now, I use probably too thick of a pen, but you guys get the point. Okay? And then this will be 1, that'll be 2, that'll be 2. So now you're looking at it going, it's kind of easy to visualize it because you can say, okay, I know that I can see that like the right side is going to be red by green, so you can kind of just look at it. Or, obviously, you know that you can always just type it in or write it in here, so you could put like 11 there, you could put 11 there, you could put 8 there. I know it's really hard to see, but 8 there, and then we'd go 2 there, 2 there, 2 there. I mean, that's either way is fine. Either strategy is cool with me. Okay. Now you didn't have to write base times height. I feel like we're kind of past that, so we got to do the front area. You could have flipped back to here. Didn't we already find the front area here, guys? Didn't we already figure out that that's 88? Okay, so we kind of did this question already, so we know the front area is going to be 88. Now, you must have inches what? Squared. If you don't have inches squared, that's -1. This whole thing's going to be worth 1 point, this whole list I'm making here. Then I know the back's also 88 inches squared, because front and back have to be the same in a rectangular prism. The right side and left side have to also be the same. So I look at it and say that's green by red. So that means 2 by 11, which would be 22 inches squared. 22 inches squared. The top is going to be a green by blue, so that's going to be 2 by 8. So that's going to be 16 inches squared. 16 inches squared. Everybody see how I'm doing this? I got to add all these up. What do I end up getting? 252 inches squared. I feel like I hear some of you still saying inches cubed. Remember, count it wrong if you had that. This right here, guys, you had to have it exactly like that. So if you just simply wrote 88, 88, 22, 22, it's -1. You don't get the point for that 1 point. Everybody got me? You don't get the point. That's 1 point. Your answer of 252 is worth 1 point, and your inches squared is worth 1 point. There's where the 3 points come from. Now, let's say you just missed this. Let's say you just thought the right side was 24. You messed up and put 24 here. Okay? You still get the point for this. Do you guys understand that? Because technically, you're doing the right process. I'm giving you a point for the process. Riley, come on. Riley. Riley. Okay. Joe wants to paint the outside of his toy chest. Okay? He wants to paint the outside of it. What's he going to need to find then? He's going to have to find the surface area because you're painting the outside. You're covering it. Okay, that's only worth 1. Okay? Up here. Now, this one, I only made worth 1 point. And I'm just going to accept it right or wrong. I'm going to accept whatever you had because otherwise it could be worth, think about it. You should technically, shouldn't you find the volume and the surface area of both these? Yeah, so really, I mean, you'd be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 times 4 would be 12 points. And then 13 would be the answer. So I didn't do that, but I think we all know you should have done this. I'm not going to count it wrong if you didn't in this case. So we know this would be 2 times 3 times 4. We know the volume of this one is going to be 24 centimeters cubed. The surface area, okay, just do it real quick here. I'm going to just skip the steps. I shouldn't, but just to save time. We know the front would be 6 and 6. We know the right side would be 4 and 2. We know the top and the bottom would be 12 and 12. So we know what's the surface area of this thing? 52 centimeters squared. Okay? Volume over here. Volume equals area of the base times the height. We know that's going to be 2 times 2 is going to be the front times 6. That's going to be 24 centimeters cubed. So right away, what do you notice right away? Same volume. So right away we can anytime, anywhere where it says the volumes are different, we can get rid of those 2 answers, right? Now let's do the surface area. Like I said, I would have liked to have still seen you do front, back, all that stuff. I hope you did. If you didn't, it's not wrong, I guess. But anytime you're finding volume surface area, do it the way I showed you. Okay, this one I know the front's going to be 4, the back's going to be 4. The right side is going to be 2 by 6, which would be 12 and 12. The top and the bottom is going to be 2 by 6 also, right? So 12, 12. So that's going to be 56 centimeters squared. So are they the same? So we know the volumes are the same, the areas are different, so we know the answer is the letter A. Only worth 1 point there, but you should have had all that work. Yeah?
So if you didn't do the work,
Yeah, I'm going to count it. I shouldn't, but I'm going to. If you did it, you got it right. Okay, here we go. Find the volume of the solid, just more of the same thing. Your first point here is your formula. Okay, so I'm going to do the front, so I know that that's this by this, that by that right there. 12 times 9 is going to be, what is it?
132.
No.
108. Yeah.
108. So it's going to end up being what?
1,080
Meters cubed. Once again, guys, you must have that formula exactly like that. You must have 1,080. You must have meters cubed. If you had meters squared, do not count it correct. Okay, down here we're doing that same rectangular prism, I think, or no, it's not. But we're doing surface area. So the first thing you got to do is list out all your sides: front, back. Remember, keep those together always. Right side, left side, top, bottom. Okay, I know the front. Maybe go through here and you put all your distances on here. That'll help you. 9, 9, 11, 11. Now you can visualize it. The front would be 11 by 3, so that would be 33 meters squared. 33 meters squared. If you don't have meters squared on your list, make sure you're counting -1 because you do not get the point for the work. Okay? The right side would be 3 by 9, so that's going to be 27 meters squared. 27 meters squared. Okay? The top and the bottom is going to be 11 by 9, so that's going to be 99 meters squared. And 99 meters squared to give you an answer of 318, of course, then it would be meters squared. So, you must have that work right there with units, with labels. If you don't, count it wrong, because it'll be wrong on the summative. I'm telling you that right now. There's your answer, and then there's your units. This page is worth 11 points. Okay? Let's go to the next page. A lot of these are going to go pretty quickly here. Here we go. Actually, mine. Okay. All right, here we go. Number 14. You have to figure out which shape can be formed by this net. Now, you should already just notice a couple things. First of all, you should say, I have 6 sides. Right? What does that eliminate down here? Triangular prism. What else does it eliminate?
Square pyramid.
A square pyramid, a rectangular pyramid. All those would have 5 sides, right, guys? Because think about it. If you had a rectangular or a square pyramid, if you were looking down from an airplane, it would look like that, right? So you would have the bottom of it, and then you would have this side, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you guys see that? That would only have 5 sides. So clearly, anything with pyramid on there wouldn't be. And then a triangular prism, you know, depending on how you're looking at it, if it's just drawn like this, if it's drawn like that, it doesn't have a top, right? Right, guys? So it kind of gives it away that that's a cube, but that absolutely would be a way that you could fold that thing up. I mean, you could take this thing and fold it all up. Like I said, some of you can do that mentally. Pretty easy question there. You have to figure out which one of these would not represent a cube. What about letter A? Do you think that could be folded up to be a cube?
Yeah.
Absolutely it could. So that one is not the answer because that could become a cube. What about B? Okay, we're going to put a maybe beside it. Because remember, I'm all about finding the 3 wrong answers, not the right answer. What about anytime you have a T? And it doesn't matter. That T can look like this too. It could look like that. It could be, these little flaps right here could be anywhere on here, right? But as long as they're on opposite sides, it always can be. So we know, yeah, that could become a cube. What about letter D? Are they on opposite sides, guys? There we go. We know that absolutely that could be. If they're on the same side, it can't be. There's no way you could fold it and get that. So answer is B there. Some of you were probably a little bit confused. You might have missed it in your clicker because I thought it was kind of confusing, like that this is A and this. You see, it's so weird how the computer did that. So
I wrote that, and that still counts.
it's fine.
Is this out of 1?
Out of 1 point, yep. Out of 1 point on that one. Okay, here, pretty easy question. Once again, here's another net. You can see how this is kind of laid out here. If this right here was the bottom, what would this be? Wouldn't that be the front? What would this be?
Back.
What would this be?
Right side.
What would this
Left
be?
side.
What would this be?
Top.
Good. Now, do you think, is there other ways you could probably have folded that up? Sure. But I think that, normally you just think, when you think of a rectangular prism, I mean, this is basically what it would look like, right? If it was like, wouldn't it look like that, guys? Absolutely. And you think about that going down there, this kind of going down here, these going back, this going back, and then that's what that becomes right there. Okay, so a couple things. First of all, you see that there are 6 sides once again. So what answers could I eliminate? Triangular prism. What about this? Pyramid. So now you're down to a cube and a prism. What's the difference between a cube and a prism? Yeah, all the sides have to be the same. And just looking at it, I can clearly see, are the dimensions of that the same as that? Clearly not. So they can't be a cube. It has to be a rectangular prism. Has to be a rectangular prism. Okay, letter D. All right, which shape can be formed by this net? Now, I think your copy was better. You could actually see the lines in between, right, guys? Yeah. And I think it's something like this.
No. Nope. Nope.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah. I got you. Yep. One right there, right there, right there, right there. So, first of all, you see there are 5 sides. And you see triangles. So right away, can it be a rectangular prism? Clearly not. You can't have a triangle on a rectangular prism. What about a cube? No, you can't have a triangle. So you really come down between these two. Now, a pyramid, think about a triangular pyramid. If you had a triangular pyramid, I'm going to do triangular, and we thought about this right here. That's what it would look like from an airplane, correct? How many triangles would that thing have? It would have 4. Because think about it, every side, 1, 2, 3, wouldn't those all be triangles? And then what about the base shape, the bottom of it? That's a triangle too. If you unfolded this, wouldn't it look like this? All triangles, correct? If you had a rectangular pyramid, it would look like this. Right? It would have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
The only thing you can have 2 triangles on would be a what? Triangular prism, because you're saying this right here is being stretched to that. Does everybody see that? Understand that? Okay, so that is letter B. This page is not out of very much, I don't think. 5, maybe 4? 4, good. Okay. Alrighty, number 18. Which shape can be formed by the net? Okay, which shape can be formed by this net? Well, we just talked about it. There's your base shape. You can see that these triangles, if you were able to grab them right there and fold them in, what shape would you have? You'd have a pyramid, right? So let's first of all get rid of prism, because you know a triangular prism, how many triangles is that going to have? 2 only. It can't be a rectangular prism. So now the multiple choice makes it almost too easy, right? Because you know, like 2 of these can't even have triangles. And I understand B and C, your confusion. Now, what if rectangular pyramid would have been an answer?
Yeah. Well, we don't know if it's a square.
You got it.
So.
Do we really know whether this is the same length or not? So if I gave you this, you would say the answer was E, rectangular pyramid. But since that wasn't an option, we're going to assume that's the best answer, square pyramid. Okay? Surface area of this cube. There was a lot of confusion on this question. This was the second most missed question. You got to understand the definition of what a cube is. Okay? I know that a cube has what? Every length the same. So if you were thinking about this as, you know that this is 8, right? You know that this is 8. Now I'm going to give you guys a free pass. I'm going to show you 2 ways to you have done this. I'm going to basically give you a free point. The first way you could obviously do it is you can always do it like this. Front, back. Right, guys? How many of you use this method? How many? Good. Good. I think everybody would have, and that's good. I mean, that's why I made it worth 3 points. That's fine. But what did you notice right away about these? They're all going to be 64 centimeters squared all the way down, right? Because that's what a cube is. It has every side is the exact same dimension, so therefore it has to have the exact same area. So 64 centimeters squared, 64 centimeters squared. Okay? And when you add those up, what do you get? 384 centimeters squared. So your 3 points would be 1, 2, and 3. Now, if I always want you to just use this method. I mean, if you use this method, that's the way to go, because that's the way I taught you. But realistically, guys, how else could you have done this? Go ahead, Gracie.
64 times 6.
Absolutely. If you know that every one of these is 64, couldn't you have just simply done 64 times 6, because there's 6 sides, and gotten that? So if you did that, I would accept you as your 3rd point, because technically, but that only works for what?
Cubes.
Cubes, good. Okay, number 20, most missed question on the test. Now, again, made it multiple choice, which I know a lot of you probably did it once. That answer wasn't there, and it was like, oh, I must be doing something wrong, and then it made you think. If this would have not been a multiple choice, I guarantee the majority of you would have probably missed it, because I made purposely. Overall, I think you guys would agree this test was relatively easy, right? So I purposefully made this question very difficult because you can't always assume certain things. What is the mistake? First of all, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and label these out. Let me just get that done first of all. Where's my black? We got front. Now remember how I always taught you guys to kind of do front triangle? If you don't have that, you might want to write that, because I just think it just helps to remind you. Front and back triangle. And then I would call this right here a right side rectangle. Then I would have this side over here. I'd call that the left side rectangle. And then what do I have left? I have a bottom rectangle. So I just think, in this case, obviously there isn't a top. Now, guys, this side right here, guys, could you also call that the top? Sure, I don't care. Then would you have a right side? So I don't care. If you did that, that's fine. You could have called them whatever, just as long as you had them out on there, or had a list here. So what do you think the mistake was? Yes, William. That could happen, but there's an even more, there's a bigger one that everybody was doing. Lily?
The right angle.
The right angle. This is what so many students were doing. 1/2 times 20 times 12. Because what are they getting confused? That thing right there. Is the base always the bottom? Usually when we draw triangles, is it something like this? Is this the base? Even when I draw as a right triangle, is this the base? Okay, that's where you've got to be real careful. So I made this difficult. I made it challenging. But I also made it a multiple choice to give you guys a better chance at it. Okay? So that's not going to be. What does the base and the height always have to form at? A right angle, which I see right there. Now, you'd have to do a little thinking here. If you know that this right here is 20, do you agree that that's also 20 right there? Okay. Do you agree that if this is 12, then this is also 12?
Yeah.
Do you agree that if this right here is 16, do you agree that this is also 16? Okay. So maybe you put that on there. Do you agree that if this right here is 24, do you agree that this is also 24?
Yeah.
And the backside?
Yeah.
Okay?
But
All right.
no.
So it's going to be 1/2 times 12 times 16. Do you guys see that? First of all, I got to do 1/2 because it's a triangle. The base and the height always form at that right angle right there, so 12 by 16. Okay? And that's going to give us, 6 times 16 is? 96, is that what you said?
Yes.
So that's going to be 96, and of course you got to have centimeters squared. Is the back triangle going to be the exact same? Sure it is, because that's what's being stretched. You're creating an equivalent shape. Now we're going to do the right side. I can look at it and see, well, that's going to be black by blue. So that's going to be 24 by 16. What's that going to give me? 384 centimeters squared. My left side is going to be black by green. So that's going to be 12 by 24, which is 288. And the bottom is going to be red by black. 20 by 24 is 480, right? 480 centimeters squared. Okay. When you add all those up, what do you get? This right here?
Yeah.
It is letter B. Now, listen closely, guys. If you need to listen, I know that a lot of you, I think, probably just guessed and got that. I'm going to give you 1 point for getting the right answer. So you got 1 point for selecting B. Your work has to match perfectly here on this one. Because it didn't, like I think some of you were like getting an answer and you just kind of rounded and kind of got that. Doesn't work that way. You're missing, I'm giving you 2 points. So your work had to be perfect on this one. You had to have that exactly. You had to have 96 for your triangles. You had to have 384 for your right side or your top, whatever you want to call it. You could add 288 for your left side and 480 for your bottom side. And you also had to have centimeters squared on all these. You guys got that? Everybody got that? Okay. Everybody make sense of that now? This one here, yeah? -1. Wait, your answer was wrong? And your work didn't match? It's -2 then on that one. Okay, 21. This one, I mean, you're finding the volume, but what I was really trying to show you is it gave you the area of the base. So what did it give you in this formula? It gave you big B. It gave you capital B, right? It gave it to you. You know what it is. Now it's all about just figuring out how far it's being stretched, which is 8. 54 times 8 is? 432. This back page is worth 1, 2, 7. Okay. So, let's figure out 7 plus 4 is 11, 22, 38. Figure out what you got there. Out of 38.